code.
I know. Sorry about that. I should have turned it off earlier.
Like, help me, help me.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Fumble Live. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, do that now. Tap the bell for notifications, give this video a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. So we're talking about James Harden and how he is very clearly at the end of his rope when it comes to the Rockets. We're also talking about the NBA's new intense COVID protocols, and I'm really curious to hear what Jackie and Britt think about what George Hill had to say about them. But before we do all that, here's the Fumble Squad. I'm Devin Howard. You can find me on Instagram as @DevinHoward.
Happy hump day, guys. I'm Jackie Ray. You can follow me everywhere at JRay the Fanatic.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your girl, Britt. You guys can follow me on all social media at I am Britt Johnson.
Okay, so I'm going to jump right into the news today because there's a lot of information here that I want to share with you guys. So yesterday, the Rockets lost to the Lakers, and in a post-game interview, James Harden really showed that he is at the end of his rope. I mean, he basically publicly demanded a trade. We've known that he has wanted to leave since the start of the season. It's been obvious, there have been rumors, but this is really the first time that he's come out and publicly said that he basically has no hope and no ounce of optimism for the Rockets anymore. So I'm going to roll that clip, or Leo, can you roll that clip for us of him talking about the Rockets?
Good enough. We don't obviously chemistry, talent-wise, just everything, and it was clear. Like I said, these last few games, and just from the beginning of the game, they were just aggressive, veteran team, obviously, championship team, and one of the best teams that we have in this league. I love this city. I literally, done everything that I can. This situation is crazy. It's something that I don't think can be fixed. So.
He doesn't think you can fix it. I mean, we are early on in the season, but he already feels that the damage is done and there is no potential for the team to move forward. I have said that I think, and I think we've all expressed this same sentiment, that we think the Rockets should deal James Harden just so they're not holding on to a superstar who very clearly does not want to be there. But John Wall, who was traded to the Rockets after James Harden said that he would rather play with him over Russell Westbrook, fired back at James's comments, and I'm going to play that clip for you right now too.
My 11 years in the league, I've been on a team like that my first 5 years where it was all about me, not about the team, and that hurts, and it brings everybody down. So when we can get all on the same page, we can be something good here, and we can't dwell down on it because it's only been 9 games. Like, come on, man, you want to jump off the cliff off of 9 games? There's a lot of basketball still to be played.
You want to jump off a cliff after 9 games? He also threw a little bit of shade at James when he criticized certain players on the team who didn't have a, quote, winning mentality, and I don't think it's a stretch to believe that he's referring to James Harden there, although he didn't exactly name him specifically, but I just think this is all very interesting. Clearly, there's a lack of chemistry, or they're not all seeing eye to eye on the Rockets. James wants to leave. What are the next steps, Jackie? Let's talk about this. Is it fair to his teammates for James Harden to make it so clear that he is just depleted and has no faith in the team anymore?
James Harden's comments to me are very, very disrespectful because I know what he's trying to say. Whatever has happened with him in that organization, specifically with the owner, probably, and the coaching staff and things of that nature, he is not able to let that go, and that's a detriment to not only himself but his teammates as well. But I disagree with him. I think he's flat out lying when he said that he's done all he can do, because he's not done all he can do as far as playing with John Wall and trying to make the situation work with John Wall. He technically didn't do all he could do with Russell Westbrook. They gave it 1 season and that was it. And this is his pattern. He gives it 1 season and then he ships people out. That is not giving it your all. You're giving it your all is being willing to bend, willing to change, willing to see the situation for what it is. And at the end of the day, you're the common denominator in this situation. You are the common denominator. I get, and then for him to say something like, oh, well, talent-wise, like, I just don't think it could be fixed. that I would feel some type of way. He and I would have words after that. I get it. I mean, PJ Tucker, he's declining. He's been declining for the last couple of years, but he's also 35, you know. Christian Woods is the opposite. He's been improving every single season. And now you got, you know, John Wall, who should definitely be on an upswing. And I think we would all be hoping for him to be on an upswing because he's just a likable guy. I think that the comments that he made shows his leadership. If I was the owner, I would be shipping James Harden off right now, because here's this guy that's saying, hey, you know, I like what he said about the Lakers. You know, he said, we don't even do the small stuff. The Lakers are over there cheering for each other when they get points. We can't even do that. We can't even clap for each other when we do something good. We don't have any chemistry at all, and it's just very dysfunctional. And I like that he took ownership, and him saying, you know, I've been on teams where it's been all about me, and that's a detriment to the team. You're supposed to grow. You're not always supposed to stay in the same place, whether you're playing basketball or whatever. You're supposed to grow as a human being. Now is James' time to grow. I get that you might not like the owner, but my guy, there's no guarantee you're going to like the owner wherever you go. That's not a guarantee. Your job is to do the best that you can. And you coming out there looking, you know, like he only scored 16 points, which is his lowest. You've consistently scored 30 plus points for the last 3 years, you know, and you just he had no energy in that game. It was just embarrassing. And I think if it was me, if I was the owner, I would ship him off as soon as possible. I would try to ship him into purgatory, whatever that might be, because I'm petty, but that's just me. But I would try to go ahead and build around John Wall, because John Wall seems to have grown from his situation. He knows what is needed. He knows that chemistry is important, and that's a big deal. But what you don't say is, oh, the talent and everything I've given it just can't be fixed. That's, first of all, you're lying. And second of all, everything can be fixed if you want it to be fixed.
Yeah, and I feel like this is all very powerful coming from you, Jackie, because we know that you root for James Harden
all the time. But hearing him say that just pissed me off, because I could just imagine being on that team and I'm out here trying to play with you and you out here skipping along like, oh, it's whatever. Why am I here? If you don't want to give me your all, then why am I even here? It would have just pissed me off. I'm a little mad at James Harden. I actually did slide in his DM and say, what the hell? But I'm sure he didn't read it. I'm sure I'm restricted. I was like, bruh, you got me on the Fumble like day after day rooting for you, and you going to say some outlandish mess like this? This is ridiculous. So if he comments back, I'll let y'all know.
I love it. Yes, please let us know, because we'll have to do a whole story about that, about Jackie.
Right.
Harden's DMs. But yeah, I'm with you 100%. I think that what he said does show a lack of leadership. And the fact of the matter is, if he signed a contract with the Rockets, he owes it to them to see out the end of that contract. Of course, trades can happen. He could leave. But if the Rockets don't want to let him go, he is staying there. And it's in his best interest and his team's best interest to try and make the most out of what's a miserable situation for him. Right. Easier said than done, of course. But I think that it would benefit him to just still go out there and like try for it and at least be a little bit optimistic, because this was kind of I didn't like this answer. It would benefit
his future career. I mean, would you hire him at this point? Because you know he just gonna whine and no, that's what I'm saying.
Right. So, Britt, I want to talk to you about all of James's comments here. Do you think that it's best for the Rockets to trade him now, and do you also feel that it was unfair for him to say these things?
You can say and feel however you want, but it's the moments that you don't show up on the court that is the real problem. Like, clearly he didn't watch The Last Dance with the rest of us last summer, because Michael Jordan did not like Jerry Krause. It was known, people knew it, but he showed up on that court every single night. He didn't diss his teammates. He played the game and got the job done. And that's what you're supposed to do as a leader and as what you want to be, one of the best players that are playing right now. You consistently talk yourself about why you were dissed on NBA MVP and you're showing your butt right now, my guy. Like, this is why probably other people in the league didn't vote for you, because of your attitude. Like, you can't continue and point fingers at everybody else, and when things don't go out your way or go your way, you can't not play the game. Like, you can not like the owner. That is perfectly fine. Most players probably don't like the guy that owns their team, but they show up and show out for their team and for their fans. That's what you have to do. And for him to not do that in these moments, especially since he requested John Wall come there, don't bring me into some situation where you were about to play half butt and I could have stayed where I was at in my situation where I ran that city and that was my team, and now I have to come here and play second fiddle to a guy who don't even want to be here. That's not even cool, like, at all. Like, I don't know. All of this situation is, like, making me like James less and less, Like, it's just crazy that he is doing this, like, so openly. And so, and again, it's not about what he said. It's his actions. Like, like, I'm fine if you want to say you don't like the ownership or whatever the case is. That's fine. You don't talk about your teammates in public, and you don't not show up on that basketball court, because there's a lot of guys here that are willing and ready to play. Later, we're going to be talking about the COVID protocols that are being put in place, and people are putting a lot on the line and giving a lot of things up in order to play this game, and you're just over here not caring about it, not trying when other people are trying to win a championship or just, try to take care of their family by playing this game, and you're acting like it doesn't matter to you. Like, it's poor sport. It's terrible leadership. And I don't know that another team would want him. We're probably going to talk a little bit later about the Nets situation and them opening up the trade thing for James Harden again. But, like, how bad do you really want James Harden? What are you going to give up to get James Harden? In this point, like, seeing him act like this, like, it's petty, it's childish. I don't like it.
You guys
rewatch The Last Dance if you haven't seen it.
Right.
Seriously. I actually have a major update, you guys. I just saw this on Twitter. So the Rockets are basically, Steven Silas said that they told James Harden to not show up to practice yesterday after what happened. He is no longer invited to practice. Woj tweeted that the Rockets are planning to keep Harden away.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, sip that tea, girl. Sip that tea. They're planning to keep Harden away until a trade is done, with front office weighing best final offers from Brooklyn and Philadelphia. The process is moving quickly now, so it looks like that was this was just the final straw.
He might have a job, and that was to the point. Attitude reflects leadership. So if you're supposed to be the leader on that team, and Jackie talked about that of the players not clapping for each other, that's the leadership on the team. That reflects the attitude of everybody else on the team, because people, they might feel like, oh, I wish we could whatever, but, like, no, like, James is not feeling it, so I can't do it because this is his team. He's the leader. We got to follow suit with him because we respect him. And so I get it. Like, that attitude and that leadership in that locker room being the way it is now, like, that is detrimental for everybody else on the team, especially guys like John Wall, who's like, hey, I haven't played in 2 years. Like, give me a ball. Like, I want to play basketball.
Right.
And he has such energy and wanting to play and wanting to be in that situation. And literally somebody above you that's, like, bringing you down, it literally brings the whole group down. It's such a toxic thing to have in a locker room. So I completely understand why they did that, and I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the show he's already on another team.
Yep.
I'd have to play hard ball, though. If he's coming to my squad, we got to have to come to Jesus talk, because what you not going to do is come over here and things not go your way, and then all of a sudden you doing these subliminal messages in press conferences, and you need to lose some weight. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to come over here and be toxic in my situation. You come over here and be the leader that I personally believe that he can be, that he should be. You be that James Harden. Otherwise, we got to put something in your contract that says you go get over here acting a fool, I can ship you out, and no guarantee. I know that's probably not a thing, but make it a thing.
Yeah. Which is why I do not think the Brooklyn Nets is a good match for him. Steve Nash is not going to be able to handle James Harden. Sorry. Like, I don't think that's a good – technically them playing could be a good fit. We already saw Kevin Durant and James Harden play at OKC. It didn't work out. I don't think it's going to work out again, especially with Steve Nash as his first year as a head coach. I don't think he's that, put that thing in. Honestly, like, he needs a coach like Pop. He needs a coach like Doc Rivers, probably, like, in those kind of moments. Maybe Philly works, but, yeah, I don't see him with the Brooklyn Nets working out just because of the attitude.
It's wild what just happened. I can't believe this all went down literally in the last 8 minutes. These tweets just started coming out. And like I said before, Woj said that the process is moving quickly with the Nets and the Sixers as the top choices that the front office is weighing offers from. James is no longer invited to practice from today moving forward. So wild to see what's happening here. James is getting what he wants, which I think is a little bit frustrating, especially if where he ends up is the Nets. But because we know he's wanted to go there this whole time. But I guess we'll just have to see how all of those egos together play together in Brooklyn if that's where he ends up. So crazy, crazy, crazy news, you guys. Now we also have some other wild news to get into. The NBA's new strict COVID protocols. So they just updated their new rules to keep players safe during coronavirus while they're playing games and practicing in the pandemic. So here's a quick overview. No leaving their residences unless for team-related activities, including when they're on the road. Pre-game locker room meetings can't be longer than 10 minutes. Other meetings have to happen on court in a league-approved space where they can social distance. No contact with non-household or team people, or I guess I should say limited contact. No hugs, just fist and elbow bumps. I mean, this is a very thorough list, and that's just a brief bit of it. George Hill actually tore into these new rules saying, quote, "I'm a grown man, so I'm going to do what I want to do. If I want to go see my family, I'm going to see my family. They can't tell me I have to stay in the room 24/7. If it's that serious, then maybe we shouldn't be playing. It's life. No one's going to be able to just cancel their whole life for this game." He also added that they love basketball, they love the game, but, quote, "at the same time, if we're casting all these rules, this and that, maybe they need to reevaluate what we're doing. I just don't understand some of the rules as far as we can sweat 48 minutes with the guy next to us and the team next to us, but we can't talk to him after the game. It makes no sense." And I do understand that it kind of doesn't really add up, and I know that the league is just trying to do whatever they can to keep people safe, but they can't create a bubble but not a bubble. You know, they want to create a not bubble, and it's just I don't know if it's realistic or reasonable to expect that. So let's talk about this. Britt, do you feel that George Hill is right? Do you think that he's valid in wondering why there are so many rules, and if it's this much of a risk, why are they playing?
Yes, I think he's valid in his points. We kind of talked about this earlier in the week, what is the NBA doing? They had so much time to kind of come up with something while they were sitting in the bubble, and they knew they couldn't replicate the bubble again. You can't make people stay away from their family and friends and all of this for years. You just can't do that. The NBA players, literally were in prison. I remember when Dame Lillard posted that picture and he's like, "Dang, I feel like I'm about to do a bid," when he was leaving his girlfriend and his baby or whatever. So they were put into a situation, you can't make it happen again for a whole season. And that wasn't a whole season situation. That was the 8 games they had and then going into the playoffs. So I think he has a valid point. You can't just keep these players not having a life in order to play basketball. But then I do get the regular person looking at it well, you guys are if somebody paid me $30 million to not hang out with somebody for a year, I would do it. I would be by myself the whole entire year so I could get that money, So, but when you already have just a lot of money, it's oh, well, I could have just not played this season or whatever. And I think the very crucial part of this whole thing is the NBA did not have this put in place at the beginning. They knew what COVID was already before season started, before they placed the vote. At that time, you guys should have had your laundry list of protocols, everything you were going to do for the season. And then at that time, the Players Association and the teams could vote then what they think that they would be able to do for this season. Now, after season started, after you already voted to have season start, and we're, some teams are 9 to 11 games in, now you want to put these on, and players this is not what I signed up for. Y'all gave us rules at the beginning, and I thought I could do those rules, but these are new rules now, and this isn't what I signed up for. So I completely get why they would feel like that, because the NBA should have had whatever they were going to do for the season in place, because at this point, we're 9 months into COVID. You already knew what COVID was. You already knew how you contract it. So there's no point or no moment to be oh, well, we should be doing this or that, or we don't know if we should do this yet or whatever. There's not anything new that we learned about COVID in the last month for you to change this stuff. You should have had what you were going to have the players do. You saw what the NFL did and what happened with the NFL. You saw what happened with Major League Baseball, and you should have decided at that point what to do. Like, not after season already started. Like, it's literally like you slapped them in the face.
Right.
Yeah. I do think that it's mid-season. Sorry, there's echo. I got a little distracted there. For mid-season, them to come out with all of these extremely strict bubble-esque rules, it's a lot. I understand why the players would be frustrated. Jackie, do you think that this new set of strict rules will cause athletes to just lose their desire to play the game? Because to me, it sounds like George Hill is kind of like, you know what, I'm fine with throwing in the towel if I have to.
I don't think they'll lose their desire to play the game, but I think they'll be like George Hill and not give the least bit of a damn. They'll go to their family's house. They'll do whatever they need. If they get caught, they get caught, and they'll just quarantine and do, whatever. And then when they can come back and play, they'll come back and play. But I think that the NBA, I agree with Britt. I'm still confused as how the NBA ended up here, because we applauded them for being flawless in this bubble situation. Even the NHL is talking about, like, okay, maybe if we just play, the West first plays all their games, and maybe we can just quarantine them in that. Like, they're at least thinking, okay, we can't do a bubble. How can we do a kind of bubble? But the NBA was like, nah, we did this bubble once. We're not going to do it again. We just going to go out here and live our best lives. And then now they see, oh, maybe we can't live our best lives just yet. Maybe we do need some rules. And it's just asinine to me, because we really do miss that. We've seen this time and time again when, like, Kyrie might be one of them. He might be mentally dealing with something else right now, and he's not in the mindset. But when you take these athletes and when you take them away from their families or things that bring them peace and let them kind of wind down a little bit from the game, you don't get the same player. You don't get the same energy. They kind of need these ways to distract themselves. So the NBA did a horrible thing. On another podcast that I talked about, a friend of mine was like, okay, they should put like 20 people around each athlete, and all of them have to quarantine to some extent, or maybe be on some compound, which is not easy for all athletes. Of course, LeBron could probably do it, because we've seen the size of his house, because he shows us on his IG all the time. He could probably have 20 family members live there with him, and then they could quarantine and test frequently, and then maybe, okay, now we're just going to stay on this compound. But not every athlete has that, and the NBA just didn't think. What I really think they thought was, hey, by the time the season starts again, we'll probably be on the tail end of COVID. They didn't listen to Dr. Fauci, which is funny to me, because Adam Silver, every chance he got, said, we're listening to the doctors and the scientists, and they all told you we was going to be on an upswing by now. So I don't understand how we're just now getting these rules when everything said that we would end up here. And I agree with George Hill 100%. Like, if you feel like I got to be on house arrest, we shouldn't be playing. If it's that serious, we just shouldn't be playing.
Very interesting, you guys. For those of you who are watching us in the chat, let us know what you think the league should do from here. Do you think that they should enforce these rules and fine the athletes who violate them, or do you think that they need to just call the season? And for now, that wraps up Need to Know News. We went over a little bit. So, Jackie, can you take us into the post-up?
Yes. I'm excited about today's post-up, because off top, we're going to talk about James Harden. And as Devin told you, I'm always rooting for James Harden, so I'm a little frustrated about this whole situation. But if you guys are new here, one of my favorite things to do is to sneak in shade really, really quickly that you might not even pick up unless you're really paying attention. So I got to give this announcer some props, because he did this very sly, and it was on point. Take a listen.
James Harden definitely had a pregame meal, averaging 17 points per game over the last four.
Did y'all hear that? He was quick with it. If you didn't hear it, but James Harden not missing no meals, and he's not. And that's what I'm saying. He's letting his body go. He's not even putting in the work. And he's a big guy anyway, but he's not putting in the work. He's averaging 17. James Harden don't care. So I think Britt's right. I think by the end of the show, we're probably going to hear that some deal is done, and we'll just see how it goes. All right. So next up, speaking of mental health and what you really want to do, I keep saying that I have a love-hate relationship with Kyrie, because it definitely is more love, because I do think he's extremely intelligent. I think he's extremely passionate about what he's doing as well. And now he's sitting at home, and he was spotted on a Zoom call. So take a look at this. He was spotted on a Zoom call with Cynthia Nixon and Progressive Justice Reform District Attorney candidate Tani Shui. I always mess her name up. But I love this because you guys know this has been a passion for Kyrie. This is one of the reasons he didn't want to go into the bubble, because he literally wants to try to make this world a better place. And I flat out love this. I do. Another reason why I love him is because I think he gets unnecessary hate, because of course people had something to say about it and they were like, oh, well, you know, why is he doing this? And he's supposed to be, you know, training. He's in COVID protocol, y'all. He can do this. It is okay for him to do this. So I'm not going to give too much credit, but I am going to read 2 of these comments to what they had to say about Kyrie. Progressive justice reform. Kyrie wants to leave a legacy, and it seems like it's not on the court. Kudos to him, though, and I'm not mad at him at all. I mean, he could do both. He literally could do both. But then we have one more Twitter user that said something as well, and he says, dude is neglecting his responsibilities as an athlete. I'm all for being involved in social issues, but what's giving you the platform is your profession, and you still got to respect it. He does, and he can respect it by finishing this COVID protocol. So just so you know, y'all, that party, obviously the NBA is still investigating that, but he's supposed to be in COVID protocols right now. So everybody take a deep breath, because I'm so excited about this next one. I know nobody's going to say it except me, but all hail King James. This was one of those moments that we were talking about where people are just having fun, teammates are having fun, and King James milked this for all it was worth on this no-look 3. Take a look.
Sure, he's behind the arc. Oh, he turned the other way. He turned the other corner. LeBron,
my boy.
make sure he's behind the arc. Oh, he turned the other way.
I got a close-up look. Y'all know I got it from another angle. You know I got it. So there's another look so you can see it close up and personal.
Make sure he's behind the arc. Oh, he turned the other way. He turned the other way.
Oh, I just love this. I love all of this. But if you're going to get mad, don't get mad at King James for doing this. Get mad at Dennis the Menace, because it is all his fault this happened. At least that's what LeBron James had to say in the post-game interview. He had to take him up on his bet, you guys. So take a listen.
Well, my teammate, hit me with a bet on the sideline, and I took the bet while I was still shooting the ball. So, a bet isn't official until you look a man in the eye. So I had to look him into the eye, and I was able to win that one.
Okay, just need a couple follow-ups on this one. Who was the teammate?
Dennis the Menace.
Okay. And
See, I love that. So Dennis the Menace, while he was setting up for the shot, he told LeBron James, I bet you won't make that. LeBron James had to do that. The reporter also asked him, he said, hey, how did you feel about how your teammates reacted? And he said, man, I really love my teammates, the chemistry that we have. We're just building and we continue to grow together. That's like the opposite of what you hear in Houston. But I got to say, as a LeBron James fan, this is such a beautiful time. I have not seen this man this relaxed, having this much fun. He's just living his best life. He was kind of relaxed in Miami, but not quite this much, because he still had something to prove. So Devin will say it with me. Let me get Devin on the screen, because she'll say it with me. Devin, are you ready? Let's say it together. Ready? All hail King James. I got one person to say it with me, and that's all I need. I don't need all of y'all. I don't. I just need Devin.
No, but I do want to just add before you move on, I loved this moment so much, but it also made me so sad, because I was just sitting there thinking, imagine how fun it would have been to be a fan in the stands during all of this. Like, imagine how crazy Laker Nation would have gone when they saw this in person. So it makes me, it's like kind of sad, but also so amazing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and it gets me back to Sean Payton's idea. I would be one of those fans that would quarantine for a ridiculous amount of time to go to a Laker game. I would do it. So just throwing that out there. All right. So let's get on to this next one, because I actually really love this next one. Draymond's defense is one of my favorite things. And if I was a rookie, I would love to be coached up by him. But there's 2 things on this video that are funny to me. Well, actually, one thing that's funny, one thing that's important. I love how Draymond's coaching him up. But watch James Wiseman's face at the end when Draymond says what he has to say.
I like that catch it in the middle of the lane, you got all that.
Yeah.
But I think if you put it on the floor one time, nobody can stop you.
Okay.
Just my opinion.
Okay.
You 4 for 6 from the field. Can't take 6 shots. Can't take 6 shots.
Look how he's looking at him like, why can't I take 6 shots? I'm totally confused. He ended up 5 for 7 on the night, but his whole face was like, why can't I take 6 shots? So Britt, why can't he take 6 shots?
That was hilarious. I think Draymond is just trying to like condition him for what the Warriors team has been, which like, listen, we defensive players, we ain't shooting. We ain't responsible for the shooting on the team. That's why I only have 1 point this season. We ain't supposed to be shooting. You're supposed to be getting them rebounds. You're supposed to be whatever you're doing, blocking, whatever. So I think he's conditioning him into what he had to grow into, which is not being a shooter anymore. So that's probably it. And it's so funny because James Wiseman looked like he was about to hit him on the back of the head, like,
I'm gonna take this shot. In fact, I'm gonna take one more shot. You tripping? Like that's.
I'm gonna ask coach. I'm not listening to you.
Right. Hey, can I take a shot? Go take your shot, kid. You know, that's exactly how that happened. I love that. But again, speaks to the chemistry, but because he didn't disrespect the OG. He was like, I'm a side eye you.
No, James knows. James is a respectful guy. He knows basketball. He respects the game.
Loved it. All right, let's move on to this next one because I think I'm going to create a petition to beat up this photographer because there's no way in hell I believe that this is the only picture you could get of Klay. His first time appearing on the sideline after his injury, and you just have him looking straight up miserable. This is the only shot that you could get. I'm so disappointed in this. I know there was a better shot. And I'm not, at first I was like, okay, am I the only one who thinks he looks like, oh, this sucks, man. I just got to sit here. But no, there's another Twitter user who agrees with me who was like, he looks miserable. Continue to pray for Klay's mental because I know that's got to be hard for him right now. It's got to be. And his whole face showed it. If I ever sit on the Fumble and I look like that, y'all start sending up prayers for me immediately because something is wrong. Okay.
It looks like the photographer should have taken 6 shots on this one. Maybe that's who Draymond should be talking to. The photographer took 6 shots. We need some other shots of Klay, please.
Right. Come on. That's your job. You got one job. Get a good shot. Not the shot that makes us want to play that sad song with the violins. Come on, my guy. All right. Look, Andrew Lee Robertson. I'm going to have to do you like my mom did you. I got to say your whole government name when you do something completely stupid because Andre Lee Robertson. What is this? I mean, okay, let me introduce y'all to somebody. Let me introduce y'all to Rachel. I have no idea who Rachel is.
Oh, everyone knows Rachel.
I don't know who Rachel is. She
was the girl for NBA 2K. So like she has like 1 million followers on Instagram. Like she played basketball back in the day herself. But she's like,
oh, is that
what we are? The Fumble. She was the NBA 2K girl.
Okay, so there go Rachel. I just assumed the check mark was because she was a get around girl. I thought the check was like get around. I thought that's what the check was, but Britt says it means something else. So now I know. But apparently she and Andre were dating, and he had a moment. I'm gonna just go ahead and assume that my guy was drunk because. Who does this? I really love you. I'm sorry, babe. I really effed this up, everyone. And then sad face. Boy, if you don't stop this right now. He ended up deleting the tweet, but no, my guy, this isn't what we do. Especially when you go to her Twitter, you can scroll all the way to last year. You will see nary an indication that the two of these people were dating. This to me was embarrassing. And on top of that, my guy, you are an unrestricted free agent. You got other things to be worrying about. These two users didn't even know if you were still playing. Look, does he even play anymore? It's like, I don't think, is he in rehab? I'm not sure. Like, come on. You got bigger issues than this chick with a get around check mark. Maybe that's not really what that check mark is, but that's what it is for me because I didn't know who she was. So Okay, let me just move on to this one because I know Britt's gonna have something to say about this. Cause look, y'all know I can't stand Danny Green. Can't stand Danny Green. I'm sure he's a really nice guy. This is not a personal thing, but on the court, can't stand him. Every time he had the ball, my anxiety went up. So I am very thankful that my anxiety has subsided significantly since we shipped him off to Philly. But this Philly fan clearly didn't follow our energy. He didn't understand how difficult it was to breathe calmly every time Danny Green gets the ball. And he's a little upset. And he had to make sure to let Danny Green know. Take a listen.
Man, you got to start shooting better, man. You was 0 for 10, bro. You was 0 for 10.
He was like, you was 0 for 10. He was actually 0 for 9. I don't know if you can hear what Danny Green said, but he's like, I got 3 rings. Danny, look, if that's your claim to fame, then take those 3 rings and go home. But if you ain't going to get better at shooting, don't nobody want to hear about your funky little 3 rings. You actually was on teams that got 3 rings, but that's a whole nother story for another day. But I tell you what, I think he needs to take this guy everywhere he goes because, like I said, he was 0 for 9 that specific night. He, at 7 of the 12 games he's played so far, he was in single digits. But after this guy yelled at him like that, he scored 29 against Miami. It was the first time he was out of the teens scoring-wise this season. I think he needs to take this guy with him everywhere. Britt, your thoughts on your boy Danny?
Yeah, and had 10 rebounds last night. 29 points and 10 rebounds. So, and 6 assists, I think. He almost had a triple-double. So, yeah, if that's what needs to happen. But Danny Green, I know everybody wants to just put him off as he's supposed to be a shooting guard. Yes, whatever. But Danny Green is a defensive guy. He plays defense a lot, and a lot of people don't pay attention to that because, like Jackie talked about the other day, they only care about, who's shooting and who's doing this and that. Danny Green plays good defense. That's why he's still on the court every night, and that's why he's making the money he does. Because if you look, yeah, he might not be a stat patter like James Harden is, but he plays defense. So y'all need to leave my boy Danny Green alone. Don't mess with Danny Green. Don't mess with Dame Lillard. That's all I got to say. Where's that guy's Instagram? Because I clapped back at that other guy yesterday for talking about Dame. So now I got to talk about Danny Green.
He was right though, and everybody in the chat, Danny Green is not that guy. It's in the title, Britt. Shooting guard. It's in the title.
He's good at defense. Another shooting guard. So leave him alone.
I got nothing to say now. He gone. So do your thing, Danny. I wish you all the best is over there. That's fine. So, all right. So moving on from someone who works my nerves to someone who I actually really, really like. The defensive coordinator for the 49ers, Robert Saleh. Y'all, he is dope. I love to see him on the sideline because he lives for the game. He lives for his players. I love him. He is amazing. I don't know if I have this kind of love for him, though. I get it. This person is a Jets fan. So first they found out that that Robert was being interviewed by the Eagles, and he was like, oh, no, the Jets should seal this deal tonight if they really want him. Many teams are interested, and if he leaves without a deal, it's unlikely we get him. First of all, look at his title, y'all. He's Optimistic Jets. His anxiety got to be way higher than anything I had when Danny Green had the ball, if you are an optimistic Jets fan, because that's something special right there. But he didn't leave it at that. In his mind, he's got to make it happen. He can't just put it out in the universe. He's got to put himself out into the universe as well. So he went. He was like, I'm just going to be here at the facility waiting for him to arrive. I'm just going to wait. #take fight. So, okay. Take flight is what he said. So, okay, that's what we doing. Fine. Dude wasn't there yet, though. This is clearly in the morning, but he waits until he finally shows up. He finally shows up at around, I think it was 4:30 our time, so it'd be 7:30 their time. The sun has gone down, y'all, and he is still there. But, this fan was cool, too. He was like, are you waiting outside one Jets drive for him? That's some dedication. I don't know if that's dedication. I think it's just flat out weird. You one dude. You know what I mean? Like maybe if you could round up a whole bunch of Jets fans and y'all could have signs and let them know that y'all are there, but you're one guy. And he waited until the sun went down. Again, that was 9:30 East Coast time. He waited. And then he stayed until he left. Again, he goes, for those of you who are asking if I'm still at the facility, I am, which was about 12:30 in the morning. I don't have any words for this. This seems a little extra to me, Devin. It's one guy. I don't know if one guy being like, he doesn't even know you're there. What?
Yeah. Sorry. This is like alarming. This feels very like scary to me. I know that it's probably just like a very zealous fan, but this is weird. This is bizarre. I would not like
you just
it.
Behind the fence.
Right? Like, what are
Taking
you doing?
pictures.
Don't you have something better to do? Go call your mom. I don't know. This is just weird to me.
Oh no, mama would be like, if you don't get your behind home, what are you doing? Like, mama's not, that's why he didn't call his mom. Mama's not going for that. Yeah, Mama Machine says it's hella creepy. I agree. You're just this guy in the bushes behind the fence. And you're it's weird, but
yeah,
he's optimistic. So I'm gonna let him have this. He's optimistic. All right, let's move on to this next one because I have a TikTok account. I don't actually use it, but I actually enjoy being on there sometimes because sometimes it's hilarious. But there's these challenges going around where these kids are kind of like either disrespecting their mom to see how their dad will react, or like pretending they're gonna fight their dad to see how they would react. Y'all gonna mess around and get beat up really, really bad. Meta World Peace Son tried it on him. Watch how this works.
My big bullshit, ready to get it started. Bitch, I got mixed.
And the headlock you go. Like, no, not today. He had to tap out. He's like, okay, it's all fun and games until, bye. So look, I'm going to tell you, Meta has a good sport, but if you want to see some stuff funny on TikTok, go watch this same challenge with some other dads who did not take so kindly and just toss their kids across the room. It's hilarious, but don't listen to Britt. Don't be active like that. Just watch it. So yeah. All right, you guys, that's all I got for post up, but we're going to go into this next one, which is what we not gonna do. Okay. Listen, this is going to be difficult for me, but what I'm going to start this off, because what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to miss an opportunity to admit when I'm wrong. I was obsessed about this Drew Brees and Tom Brady thing. I took a poll on my Instagram, and 61% of y'all think that Tom Brady looks better than Drew Brees. So I'm just going to concede. I'm not going to storm the Capitol. I'm not going to say it was a fake election. Y'all were right. I had to throw it out there. Okay.
Exactly. But Jackie, who
You're
was the 39% that agreed with you? That's what I want to know, because I
people who got eyes.
Minority. You're muted, Britt. We can't hear you, Britt.
You can show who voted too, so go put those people up so we can see who the 39% is that voted for.
Look.
And Jackie, don't let it be all your burner accounts, Jackie. It better not be all your burner accounts.
Well, look, two of them are my burner accounts. I ain't gonna lie. You know? But
she
look, our producer
from the Fumble's account. From the
I scrolled through there. I was like, man, if nobody has my back, I know Arthi. Arthi's our producer. I know Arthi has my back. I'm scrolling through, and she voted for Tom Brady. I was like, I got no support, none.
We're not blind.
Exactly.
Oh man! All right, so look, I had to set the tone and let y'all know I could admit it. I'm not gonna storm the castle or anything like that. I'm just gonna let this one be because that one kind of hurt my feelings, but. These are not the two. They're old. You know, Tom Brady is 43. Drew is 41. So, of course, these gentlemen are older. But they do play the quarterback position, which, especially if you're Tom Brady, there's literally rules that are designed so they lay you down gently on a pillow so you don't get hurt. So these are positions where you can potentially play a little longer in the NFL, even though, you know, we probably wouldn't recommend it sometimes. But Tom Brady would have to play for another 7 years, and no, Drew would have to play for another 7 years, and Tom would have to play for another 5 if they want to break the quarterback oldest guy record, which was set by George Blanda. He spent 26 seasons in the NFL and played with the Chicago Bears, Baltimore Colts. Man, that lets you know how long ago that was. And the Houston Oilers and the Oakland Raiders. None of these teams is even. That's funny. He played his last game in 1976 at the age of 48. I don't think that either of these men are going to make it to 48, but who knows? Tom might, because he don't really take hits like that. Now, aside from Blanda, place kickers really hold the longest time in the NFL, which makes sense, right? Because they probably take the least amount of hits. So you can really get up there with those in those positions. But with that, I just want to talk about this new guy that I kind of want to tell you about. Now, you guys, if you guys are fans of the Rams, you already know him, because I just don't think being 40 years old in the league, especially when you're playing offense or defense, that's not a thing. Now, if you watch Hard Knocks, you know this man, and he's just so likable and lovable, even from this picture. That's Andrew Whitworth. Again, if you know him from Hard Knocks, he is 39 years old, 39 right now. When he turned 37, he became the oldest tackle in the game. Todd Gurley said that he loved him because he always made room for him. Jared Goff said he had confidence that he would always protect him. And then as far as my Saints, Cam Jordan said that every time he played against Andrew, he knew how to keep people off the quarterback. So it's quite an accomplishment. But, at some point you just age out, I think, especially in those very physical, constant contact positions. But take a look at this injury. I think I threw it in there. I might not. There's an injury that happened to him in November where he blew out his knee, and it didn't look that bad, but he ended up going out of the game. And the Seahawks came up and they greeted him and they paid him all this homage. Russell came up. Pretty much everyone on the field came up to pay homage to him because he's that likable. But on that YouTube video, there were some users that posted this. They were very concerned. They're like, being a Rams fan sucks to see him hurt like this. Had a good career, enjoy retirement. Hopefully this won't affect him in retirement. So that was the moment, especially at that point. He was 38 at that point. Everyone assumes like, okay, these hits are starting to affect him different. He's probably going to leave the game. So he turned 39 in December. And now he wants to, that injury specifically, he had to relearn how to bend. Just let that sink in. He had to relearn how to bend. He used muscle stimulators and recovery machines day after day. He trained really, really hard. It took 7 weeks for him to heal. And his doctor said, hey, this is great, but this is fast. This is a little too fast. He didn't care. He went and played, and the Seahawks in the Seahawks game, and they got that win, but he didn't play the last 6 snaps. And Sean McVay said it was because he pulled him because they were up 30-13, and he wanted to make sure he could rest. He is scheduled to play this weekend, and every game they have, if they can get to the big show. But he said, quote, it's less about coming back and more about, are you willing to play somewhere else if this happens? He said that because he has decided he wants to play next season. If he plays next season, he will be 40 years old. Andrew, what we not going to do is pretend that you a place kicker. You are not. You take hit after hit. You issue hit after hit. You reach a point, like my mom says, you can't drop it like it's hot anymore. You got to drop it like it's lukewarm so you can make sure you pick it back up. You are in a position that is a little too physical for you to continue to put yourself in harm's way. You're in harm's way 100% of the time. Guys are gunning for you. You are gunning for guys. The longer you stay in the league, the worse it's going to be. Maybe you don't watch the Fumble, but we just showed you Reggie Bush, who was 31 when he retired, and 4 years removed, he's talking about his little tiny wife has to carry him to the bathroom because his body is just not functioning because hit after hit that he took. And he retired at 41. You're going to retire 9 years later? No, what we're not going to do is pretend that this is what you should do. You too old. You need to retire now. I don't care if another team picks you up or not. If you want to retire with the Rams, that's great. Retire with the Rams at the end of this season and let that be that. On the flip side, me saying that, I really, really, really do think you should retire. What we also not going to do is listen to naysayers, even if they're me. And I mean this for all of you guys in the chat, especially that 6th grader who I hope is paying attention in class now. I saw you earlier. Please pay attention, because you're the next generation that's going to keep people from storming the castle. So pay attention. But if you're not, just know that don't ever listen to the naysayers. Don't listen to people tell you you're too young, you're too old, or you're too whatever. If you want to do it and you put your mind to it, I promise you, you can do it. So what we're not going to do is listen to naysayers, even if they are me. But you are a very likable guy, and I wish the best for you. And the last thing I want to see is a video of you 3 years from now and you can barely move. That's not what we want for you. We want the best for you, but do what makes you happy. And that's all I got to say about that. So let me get my girl Devin up here, because it is about that time. It's time for Britt's Take.
Britt's Takes.
All right, guys, thank you so much for staying with us in order for me to talk about Britt's Take today. I actually have somebody that is going to be joining me on this take today because they agreed with what I said. So early in this week, if you guys have been watching the show every day, I talked about Kyrie and how I thought maybe he is done playing basketball. His head doesn't seem to be in the game anymore, and maybe, I mean, he's made a lot of money during his career already, and maybe his time at 28 years old is over. I mentioned Chris Borland again as well, and the fact that he was with the 49ers, and after his rookie season and having a tremendous rookie season, decided to retire because he didn't want the injuries that Jackie was just referring to and what We Not Gon Do, to, you know, make him have like a less full life for the rest of his life. So he retired after his rookie years. So this isn't the first time we've seen players in their prime or in moments where we think that they could continue to play for much longer retire early. I would not be surprised if Kyrie is done playing basketball. And one person in particular actually agreed with what I said and went a step further and said he should retire. Let's take a look at that clip.
Let me say this straight up and down. I think Kyrie Irving should retire. I think he should announce his retirement today. Clearly, you don't want to play basketball bad enough. Now, you might still want to get the $33.4 million, obviously devoid of some of the docked pay you'll receive because you haven't complied with safety protocol measures. And as a result, the league is going to determine when you come back instead of yourself or taking personal leave and obviously forfeiting game checks or whatever the case may be. But still in all, at the end of the day, you know what, you're still going to get, you know, in excess of $20 million at the very least, even though you're on the books of $33.4 million this year. Kyrie Irving has not prioritized basketball. I'm not saying he doesn't want to play all together. I'm saying he hasn't prioritized it. And how fair is that to the Brooklyn Nets? How fair is that to Sean Marks? How fair is that to Steve Nash, a coach that he endorsed bringing on board, a coach that he wanted, a coach that he fully supported? How fair is that to his brother, Kevin Durant?
Now, I usually don't co-sign with Stephen A because he talks about my Dallas Cowboys all the time, but in this moment, he actually agreed with me because I said this on Monday and he said it this morning on First Take, if you guys watched First Take today. But what do you guys think of this? Like, I already spoke my piece. I believe that if his head isn't in basketball, retire. It's not the end of the world. He has made a lot of money. Like, some people think that, oh, you know, and it's so funny because the story Jackie just did. So this is kind of like a tag team a little bit. Story Jackie just did of Andrew, like, he's playing till the wheels roll off of this thing. You know, he loves football and he wants to play, and he's still been effective on the football field. I think Andrew he wants to continue to play because he hasn't won a Super Bowl yet. The closest he got was when he was with the Rams a couple years ago, but obviously they lost that game. And before that, he played with the Bengals, and we know the Bengals hadn't been in the ranks for Super Bowl in this generation. So I think that if the Rams happen to possibly win a Super Bowl this year, then he'll retire. But I think he's holding on for a Super Bowl is what I believe. But in this situation, Kyrie has already won a championship. You know, like, he has already been this all-star and had all of these accolades, and maybe he is done. I always believe everybody has different seasons of their life and different moments, and you really should just live in the moment of your life at that time. Maybe he had his basketball moment. It was great. He, you know, got this amazing platform now that he can go live the next part of his life, which is being an activist or getting into politics or whatever. Even I've talked to Matt Barnes on several occasions where his goal in the next 10 years is to eventually become the mayor of Sacramento. You know, like, people have different aspirations after basketball. They're not just basketball, which is why we talk a lot about not sticking to sports or sticking to basketball or shutting up and dribbling, because these are human beings that have other desires other than what's on the court. And maybe he's made enough. Maybe he doesn't need to make, and again, like he said, because of how the NBA contracts work, if you don't play another game this season, he's still guaranteed $20 million. I'll take it, you know? Jackie and Devin, I'm actually going to go to both of you guys on this and just kind of open up the conversation for the possibility of Kyrie retiring. Do you think that's something that he should and maybe is considering? Do you think it would be terrible for his legacy if he retired now? Or do you think he's kind of done enough in this game to where he can kind of move on and do something else? I'll start with you, Devin.
So I think that Kyrie still has gas left in the tank, and I was saying this in the chat. I think that he could have a career that goes on beyond this season, but it's his ego that's the problem here. So if he's not able to kind of get rid of his ego, stop trying to feed his ego, it is going to be problematic for him and his teammates. And we talked about this earlier this week. It doesn't seem like Kyrie is even in like the winning mindset. It doesn't seem like he is in it for like the team mentality. And so I just think that if he isn't able to kind of let go of his own desires and his own wishes to be the superstar, he's not going to be able to have a successful time with the Nets. So I'm not saying I want Kyrie to retire, but if he isn't able to get things, right, if he isn't able to find that balance that he needs, it might be his best option.
Mm-hmm. Jackie?
I mean, you guys know I like Kyrie, and I want Kyrie to do what Kyrie wants to do. The problem is we don't know what that is because he's not talking. And this is the thing that bothers me about Kyrie. If you want to do social activism, say that and let me join whatever organization you make to do that, because I would love to do that because, like I said, I think he's very intelligent. I think he would be very successful in that. If you want to play basketball, say that so we can realize that you just had this mental thing that you were going through and we can support you through that. If you want to do both, say that so we can figure out a way, especially as a team, they can figure out a way to help you do both so you can feel rewarded in something that you're passionate about and you can be productive for us on the court. The problem in this situation is Kyrie is not communicating. He's never been that good at communicating. I am a LeBron James fan. I clearly recall him being on the sideline and not speaking to any of his teammates during the playoffs. This is something that he defaults to. When something is not right in his head, he just shuts down. And this is a problem. Like I said earlier, we all have to grow. I think this is Kyrie's time to grow. And the funny thing is we've seen him grow in so many other areas. I've seen him grow as a leader as far as the social activism. I've seen him grow as far as the books and things that he reads. He still hasn't grown on how he communicates. And that's the area that we need him to grow, like today. You need to figure that out today so we know what's going on with you. But whatever he wants to do, I think he would get support in it if he would just tell us.
Yeah. Yeah, but it also is like a double-sided thing too, because we do have moments where players do express what's going on with them, like with Paul George last year and with Dak Prescott this last year too, and then they get criticized for being too soft or like, oh, why are you worried about this mental stuff? You need to be focused on the game, or like what, like, so I feel like that's kind of what Kyrie probably set back, and because Kyrie is an observer. He does sit back a lot and just watch things happen. And he's probably seen moments where other players have, expressed what they are actually doing in those moments. And then they get shut down before they can even start something. So I think he is in the process of trying to figure out what he wants to do. And he doesn't want anybody yapping in the background talking about it. But I mean, we're still yapping, but at least we're not yapping on a specific thing because we don't know what his goal is, what he's trying to do. And so nobody can then turn it down because nobody knows about it. So I think he's probably living in that realm a little bit. But retire or not, I think he's going to, whatever next step he does, it's going to be great for whatever aspect it is. If it's basketball, he'll then decide to focus on basketball and be great at basketball and end up being this amazing Hall of Fame player. If it's doing activism and stuff, he will end up, creating bills or doing different things that will change in the community. I do believe whatever he decides to focus on will be great. But again, he's 28 years old, and we want these 28-year-olds to have everything figured out in life sometimes, and they don't. He's been playing basketball since he was a kid, and now he's like, well, I actually am interested in other stuff. But at what extent does that, and how do I split that with basketball? How do I, a guy that's been all about basketball my whole life, now turn into being interested in other stuff? How do I balance all that? So again, I'm with you on like, I'll be behind Kyrie, whatever he does, as long as he's doing what he really wants to do. If his basketball career is over, we saw a lot of great basketball from Kyrie, and I'm not mad at that. Like I would be, it's fine if it ends. He'll probably be able to walk and run longer in his life than anybody else will. Stop early. So I guess it is a weird moment because we don't know. But then I think if we did, we would then try to shut that down, I think. But that's Britt's take for today. Kyrie, we're here for you, my guy. We want you to be great whatever you do. You have fans over here. Even though you get on our nerves sometimes, we still your fans.
Yeah. We still do love him. There were some people writing in the chat like, you guys are being, like rude or whatever. I saw something that I was like, no, it's not about us not liking Kyrie. We love Kyrie, but it's just, you got to be able to be the best you can be and live your life the way you want.
Yeah, ask our producer. I love Kyrie. Every time I see Kyrie, I'll just be like, I love Kyrie. And she's like, you say that every time you see a picture of him. Like, I love Kyrie, so don't get it twisted.
Yeah, I love his intelligence. I love his desire to learn. Like, he's open with his desire to learn. I think that is so beautiful. We don't see that in normal people, let alone athletes a lot of the time. So Kyrie is definitely up there as far as the people that I'm always going to be rooting for. And that's why I just want him to understand, because Britt's absolutely right. He is an observer. So observe that this is not going well. Say something.
Yeah. It's true, 100%. All right, you guys. Well, let's wrap up the show. I'm sure tomorrow we're going to be talking about James Harden's new landing destination, wherever that is, if it hasn't already been announced. So get ready for that, so we can see, so you can see all of our reactions to that, because that was a crazy update that happened today.
Yes.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, tap the bell for notifications, give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment below, do all the things, wash your hands, and wear a mask. And we'll see you guys later. Bye, everybody.
Happy hump day.
Woo, woo.